there. So, like, today's world is just filled with so many problems and such sadness, and like so many broken people, people who just haven't taken the time to heal. And so, I am on a journey, like, just trying to find inner peace. And I think it's so important that we take the time to start with ourselves and we try to heal. So, ways that with my story, when I went through, well, when I was going through some of the things that society would deem to be some of my biggest failures, it was programmed into me that I was a failure because I had divorced, I had lost my home, like, to foreclosure, and ultimately all of that kind of led to, well, it led to me filing for bankruptcy. And so those were some pretty huge things that, by society standards, I would be considered a failure. And having not really had failed before in life, it really, it really pretty much was my starting point, like, in life. So I just think it's so important for people to just heal from those things, or whatever it is that you may feel is your failing point in life. Like, those situations don't define you. Like, you can bounce back from whatever it is that you're going through. I know in the moment it seems really hard and it seems like there's no way out, but you can. And that's why, like, I just really try to encourage people when they're going through something to acknowledge. I mean, that's the first step, and that's what I had to do, because ultimately I felt like, well, time, everyone always says time heals all wounds. Yes, it does, and it does take a while, and eventually you will begin to get over things. But for me, like in my case, time, I thought time was healing my wounds, but eventually I met someone who made me realize that I was still bitter. So although time had healed my wounds and I was trying to avoid people, and I wasn't like trying to put my baggage onto anyone else, I was just trying to deal with it on my own. But time wasn't the only thing that was just like time by itself wasn't just healing my wounds. I had to put some work into it. So some things that I realized that I did to help myself to move forward and to bounce back, so to speak, would be that I had to accept my truth. Like, I couldn't just deny that I was hurting or that I was angry or, you know, sad, whatever it was. I couldn't deny what had happened to me. I couldn't lie to people and just act like, things hadn't happened, because they had. So the first thing I think is just accepting your truth. It's your truth. It's your story. It's what makes you who you are. And when people say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, that is like the ultimate truth. Like I said, I was just down. Like, there were so many things that were happening, and I just felt like I didn't have a chance to bounce back, because that would happen and then that would happen. And I mean, throw in some other things like a move. And I had a son. Like, at that time I did have a child, so I was also a single mom. So I didn't have time to sit there and like pout or cry or whatever. I had to keep moving. But the first thing was just accept that truth. Like, I had to accept that this is my new reality, that I am a single mother, that I don't have this house anymore, but we still have to have a house. We have to have somewhere to live. And then it was, easier to just accept it. And it gets easier to realize that, or you see a path, or you realize some steps that you may need to take in order to move forward from your situation. And then I think one thing that some people don't do is to grieve the process. Like, for me, I had to grieve. I had to learn to grieve, because I was so used to being strong, that, letting people think nothing affected me. I had to realize that I had to grieve the life that I thought I was going to live. Like, I thought I was going to, not going to be a divorce statistic. I thought that I would never, ever, 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 ever file bankruptcy, because I was raised that your credit and your reputation is like some of the most important things that you have. So I had to grieve all of those things that I thought would be perfect, so to speak. And you have to do that, because grief is part of your process. You can't just skip past the parts that you can't just go from the bad to the good without acknowledging and grieving what you lost. And then I think the biggest thing for me, because I thought I was going to have forever have the perfect credit, the perfect house, the perfect whatever, I had to really, really, really program myself to know that I was not a failure. Things happen to us, and sometimes we cause the things ourselves, but it's so important to know that you are not a failure. Like, you may fail, but you are not a failure. So you just have to learn from whatever it is that happened to you, and you gotta use it to build your character, build you. Things happen to us, and we can't change them. That's part of our life, but it's part of our story. It's part of who makes us who we are, and and that's what just is so important. And then the other thing is, like, another thing is that I had to learn to forgive. Not only forgive, people who I felt had wronged me, but I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself and accept that I had made mistakes, that I wasn't perfect, that 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 I had to accept my part in whatever played out as well. Because forgiveness a lot of time can hold us back. And I remember being so angry at, like, the situation, and being in that situation, and, like, just being angry. But what was that doing for me? Like, it was just making me a little more stressed, or what have you. It wasn't doing anything to help me. It was holding me back. So those are just some of the things that, I think it's you need to know when you're trying to heal. And healing is just so important. And I mean, I went through some other things that I did as well, like my spirituality. Definitely, I had to refocus or focus on that. And that helped me to get through a lot as well. So just, I guess, to kind of recap some things, when you know that you need to heal, some things that you need to do is just accept your truth. You got to grieve your process, grieve the loss, whatever it is that has hurt you, even if it's like childhood trauma. You got to go back and dig into it, but you got to grieve. You got to understand that you're not a failure, that things happen to you, but you're not those things that happen to you. So, and then you have to forgive and work on yourself. And with me, the working on myself was my spirituality and just trying to become a better person overall, and to keep going. Like, you can't just stop and pause just because something tragic or something bad happened to you. There are plenty of people out there with stories, and I'm sure you may even find there are going to be people with similar stories, and there are going to be people with worse stories. So be thankful that whatever it is helped to make you who you are, and just grow from it. Don't let it stop you. You gotta learn to let it go. I hope that helps, like, with your healing process. And I sincerely hope that you feel better as a person. And if you need someone to talk to, just let me know, because there's so many, like, things like that I have gone through, and it's just my mission to try to help as many people as I can. So let me know if you found value, and until the next time, take care.